હા, જોઈન થઈ ગયો છે, અવાજ નહીં આવતો તમારો ને.
વિપુલભાઈ, હલો વિપુલભાઈ. Can you hear me now? Okay. Vipul bhai, he has received the mail and he is uploading.
Hello.
Vipul bhai, morning.
Good morning, Apurva bhai. Extremely sorry because
No,
of
that is
network
fine.
issue.
That is fine. Rushabh, I think, has just started and then something happened. We will
Yeah.
start the screening and you can join by mobile. That is great. Anyway.
Yeah. Actually, every Sunday there is a electricity supply cut over here. So because of that, there is a problem in the network. Wi-Fi is not working. So I have to join with the hotspot, but it's also not working properly.
I understand.
Yeah. I think till then we can discuss some issue we discussed in the last lecture. Hello.
Yes, yes, please continue. Continue.
Yeah. So last time we have discussed about how to select a journal for publication.
Right.
Yeah. My voice is clear, na?
Absolutely clear.
Okay. Last time we have discussed about some indexing of the journal, how to select a journal for publication as far as our country is concerned, according to NMC guideline. So there are few guidelines laid down by the NMC, depending on which we have to select a journal for the promotion in academic faculties.
Right.
First thing, they laid down the which indexing agency you should select, right? So first thing is they mention about the PubMed Central, Embase, Scopus, DOAJ. So these are the listed indexing and Science Citation Index expanded. So these are very good indexing agency, which on basis which you can select a journal for publication. So to decide quality of the journal, we have discussed few parameters, like we have to first see about the indexing of the journal, how good is journal at the following guidelines laid down by the journal itself, like aims and scope of the journal should be very clear. Third thing, we discuss about the editorial board member. We also need to look at the editorial board member, because if editorial board doesn't comprise a reputed editorial board member, that journal will not last long. Fourth thing, we discuss about reviewer comments and all. So reviewer comments are very important to improve the quality of the article. But the first and foremost thing to decide and select the journal is about the indexing. Second misconception in our community is the paid journal are not good journal. But it's not like that. If journal is open access, they have to bear some cost. And to recur this cost, they have to pay some fees to the publisher. And for that, they are keeping the publication charge. There are very good reputed journal which are charging around $2,000, $3,000, but they are also good journal. That doesn't mean they are charging. They are going to publish your article. They follow a very rigorous peer review system, and if you follow their criteria only, then they can publish your article. As for example, World Journal of Gastroenterology. World Journal of Gastroenterology charging $3,000 per article, but it has an impact factor of more than 5. It's a very reputed journal. Even most gastroenterology institute follows that journal. So this is what we discussed in the last lecture about how to select a journal for publication. If any doubt in how to selecting journal, it can be asked.
Sure, sure. I think Rushabh has started sharing the screen. Rushabh, make it full screen. Rushabh, make it full screen.
So till the PPT start, I would like to inform all the residents that the journal which I am running, Global Journal of Medical, Pharmaceutical and Biomedical Update, is now included in the latest embassy list. So that can be selected as an for promotion of academic faculty.
Right.
In October 2022, they have released their updated list. So, so far our journal was not mentioned in that list, but from this year, the journal has been mentioned in the embassy list. And to check the authenticity of the journal, whether the journal really the claims that the journal is indexed in particular agency, you have to log on to that particular website. Like Embassy has Elsevier is running Embassy and Scopus. So if you want to check whether Embassy or Scopus index journal are there or not, you have to go to the Elsevier website and check on that website. Science Citation Index is run by the Web of Science. So you have to go on the website of Web of Science. And PubMed is run by National Library of Medicine. So you have to go on the NLM website to check whether the journal is indexed on the PubMed or not. So on that basis, you just don't rely on the what the journal mentioned. You just cross check whether really the journal is there or not. Because many a time to generate revenue, journal are claiming that their journals are in the PubMed, the journal is in the Scopus or not. So you have to cross check.
Right. Good morning, madam. You are muted.
Because there was some problem last time, so I kept it as it is. In spite of I was muted, it was unmuted. Right. Good morning.
Actually, we have not still started. We could make there like no problem here. He made the presentation. Rusha will be starting in a couple of minutes. Drive. I'm busy. I share it.
Okay.
Rishabh, are we good? Yes, great.
Vipul bhai,
Yeah,
yeah, please. I think we can start.
okay. So, our today's topic is how to write a good scientific paper. Myself is Dr. Vipul Yagnik. I am executive and managing editor at Global Journal of Medical, Pharmaceutical and Biomedical Update.
Next.
Next, sir, can I switch from here?
Yeah, if it is possible, I don't mind.
I don't know whether it's the option is available or not.
I don't think that is available. Huh? I don't think that is available. તમે
Okay,
નેક્સ્ટ કહેજો એટલે ત્યાંથી બદલશે સાહેબ. આ
okay,
અમારા લાસ્ટ યર બી આવા ઇશ્યુઝ અમુક થયા હતા એટલા માટે.
okay, ચોક્કસ.
ઋષભ સ્ટાર્ટ ફ્રોમ ધ ફર્સ્ટ સ્લાઇડ. ઇન્ટ્રોડક્શન પછીની સ્લાઇડ ચાલુ કરો.
Rushabh, keep second slide learning objective. Learning objective, second slide.
એક જ મિનિટ સાહેબ.
Yeah, yeah.
ઋષભ તમે આગળ જઈ રહ્યા છો.
Hmm.
બસ બસ સ્ટોપ.
Yeah, that's good. The second slide, learning objective. So, what are the learning objective for how to write a good scientific article? Is basically to teach how to develop effective technical writing skill and to organize a research paper in such a way which allow people to read your work selectively. Because while writing, you have to be very specific. So you should know how to write a good article. And your research paper should be organized in such a way that people can appreciate your work and your work can be read selectively. Next. Next slide. Yeah. Research article. Now there is a misconception that only research scholar or those who are PhD or those who are of assistant professor level can write a research article or research paper. Basically, there is a minute difference between research paper and research article. Research paper is usually presented in a conference where you can put your results of the study you did in the past. And research article is usually for the journal. We have discussed about the selection of journal. Selection of journal should be based on the indexing of the journal. The indexing, reputed indexing we had discussed last time, like PubMed, PubMed Central, Web of Science, Scopus, Embase, and DOAJ. These are the reputed indexing agency. For your work, you can select any journal which are indexed in this indexing agency. The best how I select a journal is based on the impact factor. If journal is having good impact factor, first I will prefer to submit my article in the good impact factor journal. Second, I will see whether journal is indexed on the PubMed or not. Third, I will see Scopus or Web of Science. Fourth, I will see Embase, and last I will select the DOAJ. DOAJ is basically directory of open access journal. So any open access journal can apply for the DOAJ. This basically not indexing, is a directory. So you can go for selection of journal in that manner. Fourth slide, Rushabh. Fourth slide,
Yeah.
main
Title
step.
page. Sir. Ha, yes, main steps.
Yeah. So main step on writing good article. The first step is titles and affiliation. The first step is a title page. So you have to make a title page. Second step is to choose a topic. You should choose a good topic, which is newer one, and you feel that that can add some scientific knowledge to the existing literature. Third thing is locate the information from where you have to gather the literature. Fourth thing is prepare outline. Fifth one is writing the text. Then prepare references, write abstract and keywords, prepare a title page, and final checklist. Next slide. Yes, title page and affiliation. So this is a very important page. Every journal, few journal are asking those journal who follow single blind peer review process. They are asking to make a one-word document that include title page and main text both. But the journal, those who follow double blind peer review system, they are asking you to submit separate title page and separate main text. So what title page should consist of? So title page should include types and title of the article. Types and title of the article. So type, suppose it's the original article, review article, case report, case series, or letter to the editor, or short communication. So these are the various type of article. Title of article is depends like whether it's a comparison between few score in appendicitis or comparison between C-reactive protein and markers of acute pancreatitis or scoring system of acute pancreatitis. So that can be a title. You have to provide a short running title. Rushabh, can you keep a title page and affiliation? Fourth slide. So you have to include the short running title. Every journal is asking. Then other important thing is author details. So author details should include author's name and surname, author's affiliation, and if author is having ORCID ID, then it should be provided. Then fourth thing is corresponding author detail. Corresponding author detail is very important. Corresponding author detail is very important because in future, if somebody wants to publish a study or somebody want to do research on the same topic, if they are interested, they can contact the corresponding author for more detail, and that can help them to prepare an article. In title page, you have to mention about the word count, how much word, because there are few journals which provides a word limit that you have to complete your original article within 2500 to 3000 words. You have to mention word count separately for abstract and main text. Abstract should ideally be within 300 words or 300 to 500 words, depending on the guideline laid down by the journal. If there is any conflict of interest or financial interest, you have to mention. Conflict of interest and financial interest is very important to mention. Other step you need is to provide the author contribution, how much particular author has contributed to that article. Suppose first author is the main and principal investigator. Usually in international journals, first author is the main and principal author who contributed the most. Last author is not that who contributed the least, but in international guideline, last author is usually the senior most author. Last author is usually the senior most author, and in between other author can be listed. And you have to specify the contribution given by the particular authors, like who has given the concept, who has collected the data, who did the statistical analysis, who write the first draft, who helps in the revision of the draft, whether all author has contributed equally or not, and acknowledgement if any. If suppose somebody helps in editing the manuscript, if somebody helps in guiding you on writing the manuscript, then you can include in a acknowledgement section. Sir, there is some discoordination between the slide and I am speaking
Oh,
because
oh,
this, yeah,
I
because
am
this,
seeing that.
yeah, because that's what I have told about the title page and affiliation.
Okay. Look on.
Now there should be a 6 slide. Choose a topic. How to choose a topic?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Slide 6, Rushabh. Rushabh, keep your mic on. It is slide 6. Sharing कैम बंद है you?
Sir,
Slide 6.
choose a topic.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, fine.
Rushabh, keep your audio on. Yes, sir, please.
Yeah. So choose a topic. How to choose a topic?
Rishabh, keep your one zoom off. If in mobile and laptop both zoom are on, then you will get this type of sound.
Echo, yes.
So disconnect from the one mobile zoom.
Okay, sir. Vipul bhai.
Yeah. So while choosing topic, you have to be very specific. Topic should be narrow and specific. The topic should be concise. Broad topic is difficult to manage as it looks like a journal overview. So as for example, suppose you are studying acute pancreatitis. Acute pancreatitis is too broad topic. Like in acute pancreatitis, you can study epidemiology, you can study etiology, you can study the marker of acute pancreatitis, you can study whether early enteral nutrition versus late enteral nutrition is beneficial in acute pancreatitis or not. But suppose you are be specific, like comparison between CRP and Ranson's or Apache-2 score to assess the severity is a good choice because you have to gather a limited information and you can serially monitor that also. So while selecting or choosing a topic, should keep in mind that topic should be concise, brief, narrow, and very specific. Journal topic will not be readable to the audience, and it's also difficult to manage the data for journal topic. So that is very important. Usually it is said that book can't be judged by its cover, but for scientific literature it's not like that. Your title will judge your article. If your title is good and catchy, your article can be read widely. Next slide, please. Sometimes title may be broad that which you can prepare a two paper. Example, we received a paper that pulse wave velocity and electroneurophysiological evaluation in patient with rheumatoid arthritis. Here you can see the author has combined the vascular and neurological both component. So that doesn't to be fit. So it's better that you can make a paper, two paper from this type of article. And make sure that abbreviation should not be used in the title. Title like CRP, you cannot write CRP in the title. You should write C-reactive protein. If you are using Apache-2 scoring system, you have to write the full form of the Apache-2 scoring system rather than using Apache-2 scoring system. Next slide, please. Right. Thank you, Rishabh. Now it's running smoothly. Locate information. So it is also very important from where you are gathering the information. Like there are lots of material available online that may not be authentic. So you have to choose authentic material while gathering the material for your literature review. So try to include the latest information within the last 5 years. You can use various search engine available on the online. Like PubMed and Google Scholar are very good search engine where you can get a lots of information which is available freely. You can also use good quality open access index journal to materialize your literature review. You can also use up to date and some standard textbook to locate the information. So that is also very important step. Before writing any article, you have to gather the information or you have to gather the material to write an article, and the material should be authentic. You cannot use newspaper reading, you cannot use the online available material which is not authentic. So that is also very important. Next slide, please. Outline. Outline, yeah. So in outline, heading should be appropriate to the nature of paper. So what I mean to say about that, heading should be appropriate. Like if you are writing an original article follows particular heading. Like first you have to write abstract, then introduction, then material and method, then results, discussion and conclusion, lastly acknowledgement if any, if there is any conflict of interest or not. In review article, same, you have to write an abstract, introduction, other heading as choose by the author, discussion and conclusion. Case report also follow a fixed heading like abstract, introduction, case detail, discussion and conclusion. For case to be reported, it should be a new finding. New finding means totally either a new case or new presentation of existing common pathology. If suppose some case is common, that is not likely to be accepted. Just because you have seen once, that doesn't mean is an uncommon case. Uncommon case, you should search the literature. Suppose if you find that Meckel's diverticulum you have seen on the mesenteric border, you feel is a unusual case, then you have to search the literature. Whether how unusual is this? What is the incidence? How many cases of mesenteric side Meckel's diverticulum has been reported? Similarly, suppose you find a case of torsion of greater omentum. If torsion of greater omentum is there, you have to search that. If you feel it's a rare, you have to search how many cases has been reported, because if incidence is more than 1%, is less likely to be accepted as a case report. Case series that usually include 3 to 6 cases. You have to minimally include 3 cases of same pathology, which is usually rare pathology. Common cases are not accepted. Short communication is usually particular to the topic, and letter to the editor. Letter to the editor is usually written in response to the article published in that particular journal. Next slide. Next slide. Short communication. 10th slide. Yeah. Short communication, it should be based on the particular aspect of study, like new sign or new artifact or a new observation. So short communication is usually invited type of article. Usually editor invites author to write a short communication. Normally short communication is not directly accepted because it has to be written by a very reputed author. So normally we invite the author to submit short communication. Next. Letter to the editor. Letter to the editor is basically constructive criticism of article published previously. Means the article is published in the previous issues of the journal, and if you feel the article is missing something, or you can add something beyond that article, that you can write in letter to the editor. Here you can see the litter hernia, rare presentation of CT diagnosed strangulated umbilical, litter hernia repaired with mesh. So we have written a response on that. Next slide, Rushabh. Yeah. Here you can see it's an our response. We write a letter we write a letter. In that particular case, author had labeled hernia as a strangulated umbilical hernia. But on looking on the image, there were no sign of strangulation. Like no redness, no tenderness. He has mentioned in the history. There was no redness, there was no tenderness. Then how they can write a strangulated hernia? So we have objected that. We have objected that. Second thing, in that particular case, the author has author has used the mesh to repair the hernia. Then we contradict their finding, and he has not resected the macles. They kept macles as such. So if there is a macle strangulated, then it doesn't make any sense to keep the pathology as such. Rishabh, if you leave the slide, you can read the last paragraph. Yeah. You can see the surgery for the primary pathology was not performed and the hernia was repaired using mesh. So we would like to suggest that the ideal treatment for later hernia would be hernia repair with removal of Mackel's diverticulum. They have not removed. So the journal has accepted because it's a constructive criticism. So if you want to write a letter to the editor, is a short type. And if you have a very constructive criticism, normally the editors likely to accept this type of letter. Next slide. Preparing main manuscript. Yeah. So preparing main manuscript, before preparing any manuscript, you have to go through the guideline laid down by the journal. So every journal has a page that instruction for authors or author's guideline. So that is to be the first thing to be done. Second thing is manuscript to be readable. Usually it is to be double spaced with 2.5 centimeter margin, 12 point times New Roman font. Page number should be written on the bottom of the right corner. American or British English. This is very important point because we have seen many manuscripts where authors combining both these language. Some spelling they have mentioned in the American English, some spelling they have mentioned in the British English. So that is not acceptable. Either you follow American English or you follow British English. So the journal has laid down the specific guideline that article should be written whether it is in the American English or British English. So you have to write down accordingly. You cannot combine both the languages. Abbreviation should not be used at the first instance. We have seen in many manuscripts that author are using abbreviation either in the title or in the abstract. But it doesn't make to write abbreviation, doesn't make any sense to write abbreviation in the first instance. Check for the spelling, grammar and syntax is very important. You have before submitting, you have to check whether your spelling is correct, your grammar is correct, and you have used proper syntax. Heading and title must be in sentence case, not in caps. So heading you write down, never in a capital letter. You should use sentence case. Acronyms and abbreviations should be kept minimum. Next slide. Any original article must follow IMRD format. IMRD format means introduction, material and method, results, and discussion format. Next slide. Introduction. So introduction ideally should not exceed more than 2 pages or more than 500 words. Few journals will limit the introduction up to 300 words. So you have to follow the guideline laid down by the journal. If journal says keep introduction up to 300 words, you have to use 300 words. This must include, this is very important point because specific goal or purpose of the article and indicate why it is worthy of attention. Describe the hypothesis to be tested and provide background information and the dilemma to be resolved. What I mean to say about these points, because before starting any study, you have some hypothesis in your mind or what we can call the research question. So before starting any study, you should have a research question in your mind. Like suppose if you are studying some score in the appendicitis like Alvarado score or acute appendicitis score, if you are studying, you have something in mind that this score is better, like acute appendicitis score is better than Alvarado score or Alvarado score is better than appendicitis score. So depending on, you have to put a research question. You have to give a background that Alvarado score is better in so and so study. Acute appendicitis score is better in so and so study. But I feel Still, there is no conclusive evidence to support which score is better. That's why I am performing this study to resolve this issue, whether I can able to resolve or not. So you have to provide a specific goal, purpose, why your study is important. You have to describe the hypothesis, and you have to mention what you are going to do in this study. So these few points are very important, because many a time we see that author has not included this important point in the introduction. So that type of article are likely to be rejected on the first instance, on the editorial desk rejection only. Next slide, please. Methodology. So methodology should be proper. Methodology should be proper and accurate, because this is a main part of your study. So on which you have designed the study. So methodology should include which type of study is there, what is the duration of study, where it was conducted, whether approval of local ethics committee was taken or not. You have to mention complete detailed method. You have to mention inclusion and exclusion criteria. If patient has dropped out in between, then you have to mention the dropped out number also, with statistical analysis or method use, that also to be mentioned. So your methodology should be accurate and complete, because this is a main part of your study. Next slide, please. Here you can see this is our study, a simple protocol to effectively manage anal fistula with no obvious internal opening, published in Clinical and Experimental Gastroenterology. Here you can say in red font, we have mentioned the type of the study, like is a prospective study. We have mentioned that ethics committee permission has been taken. Indus International Hospital Institute Ethics Committee, we have mentioned that written informed consent was taken from the patient. And we have also mentioned that study was conducted in accordance with the Declaration of Helsinki. So these are the important guidelines that you have to mention in the material and method. If you have not mentioned about the ethics committee approval, if you have not mentioned about the consent from the patient, then your manuscript can be sent back to you for revision, can be sent back to you for technical modification to include this statement. If ethics committee permission is not there in any human study, is not likely to be accepted in any international journal. You can see here the details of the method also. We have mentioned that if internal opening, what are the methods to locate the internal opening, like clinical examination before surgery, examination of patient on operating table under anesthesia, and assessment of fistula on MRI. Suppose after these all methods, if we are not finding internal opening, then what to do? Next slide, please. So we normally follow GERC protocol. After the MRI assessment, if we do not find internal opening, again we like check on the table to reassess the fistula tract on the MRI. Rushabh, just keep the slide little up. Yeah. So if fistula is reaching the sphincter complex at a particular position, then internal opening is likely to be at that position only. In horseshoe fistula, if internal opening usually is in the midline. So this is what the complete methodology we follow. Next slide. Next slide. Important portion in the methodology is statistical analysis. In statistical analysis, we have to mention that which software you used. First thing is, suppose if you are using SPSS software or if you are using state direct software, that you have to mention which statistical method you use, like Fisher-Exted test, chi-square test, or you use student test or ANOVA test. What is your cutoff for the p-value? That also you have to mention. So statistical analysis method also should be complete while writing material and method. So this is a complete overview how to write material and method. You have to include which type of study is there, whether ethics committee approval is there or not, how long is the duration, where the study was performed, whether you have to mention the complete method which you use for the study. Then you have to mention the complete statistical analysis method which you are using for the study. Next slide, please. If somebody wants to refer the statistical analysis for medical data, doing it right, it has to be written in our journal in the past by Dr. Vanna Johar, who is statistician at the SSR Medical College, Mauritius. This can be give a brief overview and concise overview for statistician for us. Next slide, please. Result. So result, the purpose of this section is to present our findings, to present and illustrate our finding. You must be aware of the content that would be included in a research article from any raw data. Summarize your finding in a text and illustrate them in the form of figure or table. Analyze your data and then prepare the analyzed data in the form of figure, table or text. So what that means? First thing is we have to collect the data. After material and method, you have decided that we are going to study a patient in this manner. So you have to prepare an Excel sheet. So Excel sheet is considered to be raw data. And that raw data, you have to arrange in an identical manner. You have to illustrate, you can made a figure or table from the raw data from the Excel sheet. And you can analyze that data. Next slide, please. So result should be clear, logical sequence and should adhere to the specific objective of the paper. So data presented in the table should not be duplicated in the text. However, it is important trend and points observed in the study will need to be described. So many a time what we have seen when we receive a paper, whatever the author has mentioned in the table, they used to narrate in the discussion also, in the result section, discussion section. In the result section, suppose male patients 50, female patient 30, sex and ratio, they have mentioned in the table, but still they mention in the text also in the result section. So that should not be duplicated. Duplicated data will unnecessarily lengthen your article and will not be readable. If your table is very clear and if your table is telling the story or if your figure is telling the story, there is no need to repeat the data in the result itself. Some author have made a table and figure from the same thing. Like suppose you have made a table for age and sex and you make a pie chart for age and sex. It doesn't make any sense. If your table is clear, either you make a table or you make a figure. Don't make both for the same data. That unnecessary, because journal follows guidelines that your table should be limited to 5 table, 8 table, your figure limited to 2 or 3. So in our dissertation, what we have seen, there are 15, 20 tables, there are 20, 25 figures. So if you want to make an article from your dissertation, you have to limit that things. So you have to concise the table or you have to combine the table and don't repeat the table and figure. If whatever the data has been included in the table, you need not to repeat in the figure, or whatever is very clear in the table and figure, you need not to duplicate into the text. So that is very important. So that's about the result. Next slide. Next slide, Rushabh. Yeah. So these are the important points. Do not discuss or interpret your results. Do not report background information. This is for result section. Keep in mind, we are discussing result section. We are not discussing discussion. So in result, you need not to discuss or interpret your result. For interpretation, there is a discussion section. Use past tense when you refer your result. That is very important because you have already performed the study. So you need to use past tense. In text, refer to each figure as figure 1, figure 2, table as table 1, table 2. Place figure and table in order at the end of manuscript. Normally, within the text, it is not included. Introduction, material, method, results. In results section, you have to write the important finding. The table and figure you should keep at the last after reference section. Figure must be numbered consecutively with the caption. Caption goes under the figure. So you have to do not write over the figure. And you should not write over the figure. Each table must be titled and numbered consecutively. So in table it is a reverse. In table you have to write a caption above the table. In figure, you have to write a caption below the table. So these are the journal point, the how to write a figure and table. Next slide, please. So next slide is discussion. So do not repeat the data or other material mentioned in the introduction or result section. Repeating data will unnecessarily lengthen your discussion, and usually the time of reviewer is precious. So if you are repeating the data, they will not give importance to your study. Interpret your data in a discussion and compare your result in context with previous research. So suppose you are performing some study, you are performing amylase, lipase and CRP, and you are comparing what is more accurate to judge the severity. Like if suppose CRP is accurate or Ranson scoring system is accurate. So whatever has been the study in previous study, that you have to compare with your present finding. Decide if your hypothesis is supported, rejected, or if you can't make a decision with confidence. So whatever hypothesis you have decided in introduction or in a whether your study will fulfill your hypothesis, means you are right in your judgment or you are wrong in your judgment, that you have to make very clear. Do not simply dismiss a study or part of study as inconclusive, because it cannot be conclusive. Please draw some conclusion based upon your result. Suppose if you are not sure whether this study is helpful or not, then you can write that this study has a few limitations and we need required further sample or further randomized control trial are needed to draw some specific conclusion that can be mentioned. Next slide, please. Discussion must include strength and limitation of your study. Discussion must include strength and limitation. Strength means, suppose if you are performing a randomized control trial, that is the strength of the study. If you are performing prospective comparative study, that is strength of your study. If your study is retrospective, it's a limitation. If your study is non-comparative, it's a limitation. If your sample size is small, is a limitation. Big sample size is a strength of study. So you have to mention that strength and limitation of the study in the discussion. The result differing from those obtained by previous investigator needs to be presented with adequate comparison and explanation. If suppose you are presenting a new finding from whatever existing or whatever has been standardized in the medical literature, then you have to provide an adequate comparison and why your study is differing, why your judgment is differed from the previous author. The next is references. So after references, there are two types of systems usually followed in the journal. One is Harvard system, that is author date system, and other is Vancouver system, that is author number system. Unpublished data or article submitted for publication are not to be included in the reference list. Next slide, please. So what is the Harvard system? How to write Harvard system? So style in the text is usually if you are using single author, like suppose I am the author. So my surname followed by into bracket the year of publication. If there are two author, then you can write the author, two author name with the year in the publication. And if there are three or more author, use a name of first author followed by ATL and then year. So main list, if suppose there are 3 or 4 references you want to include, then you have to use chronological order, year wise. So like in 2017, 2020 and 2022. Style in the list citation, it should be in the alphabetical order. It should be in the alphabetical order like ABC. So in the citations, you can write as ABC. And in the main text, you can write at the end of sentence, you can write author name and year. Next slide, please. Vancouver system. Vancouver system is the most commonly used system. Most of the journal follows nowadays the Vancouver system. So this is the author number system. So reference number are typed as a superscript enclosed by a square bracket or parenthesis in the main text. So suppose with no evidence of intratubular testicular neoplasia, so you have to write a 1 in the parenthesis or bracket. Next slide, please. So in the citations or in the reference at the last, you can number sequentially in order in which they appears in the manuscript, like 1, 2, 3. So whatever is the first in the manuscript that you have to write first. You cannot write in the manuscript first or first reference. After that, you can write third reference. You can write fifth reference and then fourth reference. It's not possible. You have to be in a proper manner. You have to. It should be in a order, like 1, 2, 3, and according to that, you have to mention in the main manuscript. Next slide. Actually, I used to prefer abstract to write in the last, because at the end of your manuscript, you can able to write an abstract in a better way. So what is abstract? Abstract is a concise single paragraph summary of your research. So at the end of completion of manuscript, you can write an abstract. It attracts reader to read your paper. After reading abstract, reader can get a quick idea about the rationale behind your study, journal approach toward the study, relevant results, and important conclusion. As a summary of your completed work, it is always written in the past tense. So that is also important. You have to, because it is a summary of your work, you have to write it in the last. And that abstract, if you write a very good and concise abstract, people will read your full text. That is very important. Next slide, please. So abstract should include the purpose of the study, aims and objective, methodology, brief description of methodology, results include specific data and results of statistical analysis, and important conclusion. There are two types of abstract generally demanded by the journal. Some journal demand unstructured abstract. Unstructured abstract means you can write a single paragraph without the purpose of the study, methodology, results, and conclusion. Some journal will demand a structured abstract. Structured abstract should include background, methodology, results, and conclusion. Usually the abstract word count is around 250 to 300. That depends on the guideline laid down by the journal. Next slide, please. So at the end, what important points you need to keep in mind? First thing is select a journal, select an appropriate journal for your work. Please look at the aim and scope of the journal which suits your work. Follow author's guideline carefully. Usually following author guidelines carefully will have your work. Avoid citing predatory journals. Predatory journals are journals which are publishing for the generating revenue. They are not of good scientific quality journal. So you have to avoid citing predatory journal. If you want to locate whether the journal is predatory or not, there is a Bales list available on website. Bales is a librarian who made a list of journal which are predatory. They do not follow the proper peer review system. Just you submit the article, they will accept within 2-3 days and publish within 2-3 days. And they are costing also. So their model is to generate the revenue. So avoid citing predatory journal. Cite material from the well-indexed journal like PubMed, Web of Science, Scopus, FSA, etc. Avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism is such thing that you are using someone's works and not giving credit to them. If you are using someone's work, then you have to give credit to them. If you are giving credit, it's not considered as plagiarism. But if you are not giving credit, it is considered to be plagiarism. Somebody's are copy paste the material. Somebody's are just slightly change the sentence and do not give the credit to the primary or index author. So that should be avoided, because now most of the journal is having very good plagiarism checking system. Like our journal follow iThanicate system. So that will pick up even grammatical plagiarism also. So if your article is having plagiarism more than 50%, 15%, 15, then journal will straight away give rejection for your article. Any plagiarism checking software, then there are few plagiarism checking software available free of cost on the website that can be used. Final checklist before submission. So you have to make a final checklist before submission, like whatever we have been discussed. Your title page should be clear, whether main tax is there or not, acknowledgement, conflict of interest, financial interest, references, everything should be in a order. So you have to fill checklist before submission. Next page, please. Conclusion. So to conclude, following simple instruction for author can drastically improve your paper. The feedback you get from reviewer will in turn improve your paper. Every review is a goal. So the reviewer comments are very important. So be grateful for criticism as well as praise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vipul bhai.
Yeah.
That was a great presentation. Anybody has any doubts? Somebody had raised the hand. I don't know. I think the chat is clear. So I think then we'll conclude the session. Thank you, Vipul bhai,
Thank
for
you, sir.
joining us for this wonderful session on how to write a paper. Next time we'll be meeting for a PG masterclass on portal hypertension. The
Okay.
program will be sent to everybody in given time. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
We'll leave
Thank
then.
you, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Rushabh.